Let me make a declaration over your life today. From this moment forward, nothing and nobody will ever hurt you again unless you give them permission. Pain is real, but permission is personal. That truth alone can shift your entire destiny if you allow it to saturate your mind and spirit. The problem for most people is that they confuse what happened to them with what continues to happen inside them. There's a big difference. You see, life will deal you pain. It's inevitable. People will lie. They'll betray you. You'll be overlooked, underpaid, misunderstood, and at times, downright rejected. That's life. But pain itself is not the problem. It's the permission we unknowingly give it to stay, to fester, and to define us. Too many people life with an open door policy to pain. Hurt walks in, and instead of showing it the way out, they offer it a chair, a cup of coffee, and a conversation. You start rehearsing the offense, replaying the betrayal, rewriting the scenes in your mind, wondering what you could have said differently, how they could have treated you better, why you didn't see it coming. All the while, pain is sitting at your table, stealing your time, robbing your energy, and draining your power. But here's the truth you need to hear. Today, what stays in your life is what you permit. Not just people, but thoughts, emotions, and memories. And if you allow pain to linger long enough, it becomes your identity. You stop saying, they hurt me, and you start saying, I'm broken. You stop saying, that moment wounded me, and you start believing, I'm unworthy. Understand this, pain is a visitor, not a resident. And you are not obligated to let every guest that knocks on your door take up permanent residence. In fact, the moment you shift your mindset from reaction to authority, everything changes. People can try to hurt you. Life can test you. But nothing and nobody gets to have access to your soul without your consent. You are not powerless. You are not a victim. You are the gatekeeper of your peace. Now, that doesn't mean you didn't go through real trauma. That doesn't mean you didn't cry yourself to sleep. That doesn't mean what happened to you wasn't unfair, unjust, or even evil. What it means is that you get to decide whether that pain becomes a weapon against you or a weapon for you. See, pain has two potential paths to destruction or development. And the path it takes depends entirely on your decision. Think about this. Some people go through abandonment and come out bitter, while others go through the same abandonment and come out bold. What's the difference? Not the pain, the permission. One person gives pain the right to name them, shape them, define them. The other person tells pain, thanks for the lesson, now get out. You can either wear your wounds like chains or like armor. But only one of those will move you forward. There's a spiritual law at play here, and it's this else. Whatever you magnify becomes your master. When you magnify the offense, the betrayal, the pain, you enslave yourself to it. You live your life looking over your shoulder, stuck in emotional debt, never really free to build, to love, to lead. But when you magnify your authority, when you magnify your calling, your purpose, your identity as someone created in the image of God, then pain has no power over you. It may knock, but you don't answer. It may scream, but you don't listen, because you've already decided, I no longer give you permission. This is why some people never heal. Because healing isn't just about time. It's about decision. There are folks still walking around 10 years, later bleeding from a moment they could let go in 10 days if they had chosen power over pity. You can't change the past, but you can change your posture. You don't have to sit in the same chair where the pain showed up. You can rise, you can move, you can walk in authority. And don't confuse suppression with strength. I'm not telling you to pretend it didn't hurt. I'm telling you to choose what you do with that hurt. Suppression is burying it. Authority is transforming it. Suppression creates emotional debt. Authority creates dividends. Because when you own your power, even your past pays you back. You look at what once hurt you and say, you're going to work for me now. That's what dominion looks like. That's what rising above looks like. Not waiting for the world to apologize, not expecting people to do right by you, but deciding once and for all that only what you authorize will occupy space in your soul. That's how pain loses its grip. Not because it stops knocking, but because you stop opening the door. Forgiveness is freedom, not approval. Most people misunderstand forgiveness because they think it's about letting someone off the hook, as it helps us. They think if they forgive, they're saying what that person did was okay. That's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is not a stamp of approval on betrayal. It's not a high five to dishonor. Forgiveness is not about validating the wound as it helps us. It's about liberating the wounded. And the truth is, if you don't forgive, the one staying in prison isn't them, it's you. The most dangerous chains are not the ones wrapped around your hands. They're the ones wrapped around your heart. You can be free on paper and still bound in your spirit. You can move into a new house, start a new job, change your circle, as it's us, and change your city. But if you've never dealt with the bitterness living inside of you, you've just relocated your prison. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks the cell you've been sitting in. And the key was never lost. It was in your hands the entire time. People often say, I can't forgive them. They don't deserve it. And maybe they don't. Maybe they lied, cheated, manipulated, broke your heart into 1,000 pieces, and never once said sorry. But let me tell you something. Forgiveness isn't about them deserving it. Forgiveness is about you deserving your peace back. It's about you deserving to move forward without dragging yesterday into every tomorrow. You forgive not because they deserve freedom, but because you do. There is a spiritual principle at work here that a lot of people miss when you hold on to unforgiveness. You chain yourself to the moment of offense. You literally anchor your soul to the worst chapter of your story. And as long as you chain to that moment, you're living it over and over again. Not because it's still happening, but because you keep bringing it back to life in your mind. You relive the conversation. You reimagine the betrayal. You keep taking mental trips to a place that no longer exists. Forgiveness is the decision to stop going there. It's saying, I refuse to be a tour guide through my own trauma any longer. And here's the powerful part. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. Some people hear the word forgive, and they think it means bring them back into your life. No. Reconciliation requires change, repentance, and responsibility. Forgiveness requires none of that. Forgiveness is a solo decision. It's internal. It's spiritual. It's about breaking the emotional tie that allows their actions to have continued power over your peace. When you forgive, you tell the enemy, you don't get to win here. Because the enemy doesn't just want you wounded. He wants you identified by the wound. He wants you to believe that bitterness is your birthmark. He wants you to build walls so high that not even healing can get in. But when you choose forgiveness, you tear those walls down brick by brick. You open your heart to the kind of freedom that money can't buy and time can't manufacture. You step into a realm of power where your past has no vote in your future. Some of the most successful people you'll ever meet didn't there because their lives were perfect. They got there because they made a decision not to lane park in their soul. They learned how to turn pain into fuel, but more importantly, they learned how to release what no longer served them. And forgiveness is part of that release. It's not a weakness. It's a weapon. It's how you fight for your future. It's how you reclaim the narrative. Because as long as unforgiveness is in control, you are not the author. You're just a character in a story someone else damaged. Unforgiveness affects your energy. It clouds your clarity. It distracts you from your assignment. You start reacting to things that don't matter, replaying conversations that already ended, and misplacing your focus. And when you're not focused, you're not building. You're busy surviving instead of thriving. Forgiveness is what clears the fog. It's what creates space for creativity, for love, for alignment, for divine strategy. Because you cannot pour from a cup that's full of resentment. Think about it. How much mental space have you wasted keeping score? As it helps us. How many prayers have you mumbled through clenched teeth because you're still carrying the weight of someone else's decision? How many opportunities have passed you by because you were too busy watching the rearview mirror? Forgiveness is not about forgetting. It's about releasing. It's not about pretending it didn't matter. It's about deciding that your peace matters more. It's about looking at the person, the memory, the moment, and saying, you no longer get to define me, not because you're weak, but because you're finally strong enough to let go. You were designed for dominion, not defeat. That means before you were ever wounded, before you were ever rejected, before you ever lost that job, got that diagnosis, or walked through that heartbreak, you were wired with authority. It was built into you. It's not something you earn, and it's not something life can take away. It's part of your original design. The problem is, most people live like tenants when they were called to be owners. They walk through life renting their identity from other people's opinions, leasing their self-worth based on their past, and handing over the title deed of their potential to fear and failure. But when you understand that dominion is your divine default, you stop playing small. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places you've outgrown. You stop waiting for permission to be powerful. Defeat is not just a moment where you lose. Defeat is a mindset that says you never had a shot in the first place. And that's the most dangerous kind of lie, because if you believe it long enough, you stop showing up. You stop trying, you stop building, you stop expecting good things because somewhere along the line, you accepted the lie that life is supposed to happen to you, not through you. But you were never created to react to the world. You were created to shape it. Dominion means you set the tone, you set the atmosphere. You walk into rooms and things shift because you carry something greater than the circumstance you're walking into. Life will test you. People will betray you. Doors will close. But none of those things change your design. The blueprint doesn't get rewritten just because you went through a storm. In fact, storms don't reveal weakness. They reveal what's already inside you. And when you're living from a place of dominion, storms become opportunities. Obstacles become invitations. Delay becomes preparation as it helps us. That's the difference between someone who knows who they are and someone who's still waiting for the world to validate them. When you know your authority, you stop negotiating with fear. You stop explaining your vision to people who were never assigned to understand it. You stop asking for confirmation from places that never had the power to affirm you in the first place. There's a reason you've been under pressure. There's a reason things haven't come easy. It's not because you're disqualified. It's because you're dangerous. You are a threat to average. You are a disruption to dysfunction. And the resistance you've been facing is not a sign of defeat. It's a sign of dominion trying to break through the surface. But dominion doesn't operate on emotions. It operates on decisions. It's not about how you feel. It's about what you choose to believe, even when the facts don't line up. You don't wait to feel powerful to act powerful. You act powerful and your feelings catch up. People lose battles they were built to win because they forget they're never called to fight for victory. They were called to fight from it. That's the shift. Dominion means the outcome is already yours. You just need to walk it out. But walking it out means refusing to bow to circumstances, refusing to shrink when opposition shows up, refusing to lower your standard to fit someone else's comfort zone. Dominion means you lead your emotions instead of letting them lead you. You command your day instead of reacting to it. You declare what's possible instead of echoing what's probable. When you live in dominion, you stop asking life to be fair. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You realize the rescue mission already happened. You're just supposed to activate it. You're not waiting on a move. You are the move, as it helps us. But you've got to own that truth in your heart before you'll ever see it in your hands. Dominion isn't about pretending everything's perfect. As us, it's about standing in the middle of the chaos and declaring that it won't break you. It's about standing up with tears in your eyes and speaking life over your situation anyway. It's about refusing to let failure become your identity. You can fail and still be anointed. You can be wounded and still walk in power. You can lose battles and still win the war if you don't let those battles rename you. Everything changes when you shift survival mindset to a dominion mindset. Survivors focus on what they lack. People of dominion focus on what they carry. Survivors wait for the next hit. People of dominion prepare for the next harvest. Survivors adjust to pressure. People of dominion apply it. And the truth is, the moment you stop accepting defeat as your destiny is the moment life has to respond differently to you. When you shift your identity, you shift your outcome. Most people try to change their life by changing their actions, their habits, or their environment, but nothing truly transforms until identity changes. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your beliefs about yourself. Your identity is the thermostat of your entire life. It sets the temperature for how much success you allow, how much love you receive, how much purpose you walk in, and how much pain you continue to carry. The world outside can only rise as high as the foundation inside, and that foundation is built on who you believe you are. If you see yourself as broken, everything you do will echo that belief. You'll savage opportunities, settle for less, and shrink when you're called to expand. If you see yourself as a failure, you'll turn every setback into proof that you're not enough. But when you shift your identity to align with truth instead of trauma, everything changes. Because you don't behave according to your intentions. You behave according to your identity. You don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. So if you want a different outcome, you must upgrade the root, not just the fruit. Identity is not what you say about yourself when people are watching. It's what you whisper to yourself when nobody else is in the room. It's the internal narrative playing behind the scenes while you're pretending everything is fine. That's the reason why two people with the same talent and opportunity can produce completely different results. One sees themselves as unworthy and second guesses every move, as the other knows they were created with divine purpose and walks with confidence even when the path isn't clear. The difference isn't luck or timing. It's identity. The enemy of your soul doesn't attack you at the level of your actions. He attacks you at the level of your identity. Because if he can convince you that you're not chosen, not equipped, not worthy, not capable, then you'll self-sabotage the very things God intended for you to build. You'll say no to doors you should walk through. You'll delay dreams you should already be living. You'll call yourself disqualified when heaven already called you qualified. That's why protecting your identity is not optional. It's essential. Identity is not built in comfort. It's forged in conflict. Who you really are is revealed in pressure, in disappointment, in moments of failure. It's easy to declare you're powerful when everything is working, but identity shows up when nothing is working and you choose to keep showing up anyway. That's when identity is proven as it helps us. That's when you discover whether you've just memorized affirmations or if you've actually adopted a new truth. Because repeating words without renewing your mind is like trying to patch a foundation with stickers. Real identity work is deep, spiritual, and often uncomfortable, but it's also the key to real transformation. Your past does not have the authority to name you. That pain, that mistake, that loss, it happened, but it does not define you. Too many people allow moments to become identities. They confuse what they went through with who they are. Just because you experience failure doesn't mean you're a failure. Just because you were abandoned doesn't mean you're unlovable. You are not your trauma. You are not your mistakes. You are not the labels people tried to put on you when they didn't even understand you. You are who God says you are, and that identity comes fully loaded with power, wisdom, favor, and dominion. The problem is many people are living under an old name. They're responding to a version of themselves that no longer exists. They're stuck in a loop, living out a story that was written by fear, shame, or other people's limitations. But when you shift your identity, you start writing a new story. You begin to move differently, think differently, speak differently. You make decisions based on who you're becoming, not who you've been. You stop accepting crumbs when you were created to sit at the table. You stop apologizing for your calling. You stop waiting for permission to be powerful. When identity changes, your vision gets clearer. You stop asking, can I do this? And start declaring, I was born for this. You stop second guessing yourself and start trusting the process because you're no longer being by fear, you're being led by truth. Identity becomes the compass that leads you to purpose. It becomes the lens through which you interpret setbacks. It becomes the fuel behind your discipline, your boundaries, your boldness. And from that place, success is no longer something you chase. Helps. It's something you attract because it's now in alignment with who you are. Healing is a decision before it ever becomes a feeling. Most people wait for the pain to disappear before they decide to move forward. They wait for the emotions to settle, for the memories to fade, for the anger to dissolve. But healing doesn't start when you feel better. Healing starts when you decide better. It's a moment of spiritual clarity where you say, I'm not going to let what hurt me control me. Not because the pain vanished, but because you made a choice to stop giving it authority. You stop letting pain rent space in your mind. You stop rehearsing the scene. You stop needing closure from someone who didn't value your presence in the first place. The truth is, healing isn't passive, as it helps us. It's not something that happens to you while you wait. It's not time that heals all wounds. It's intention. It's what you do with the time. You can sit in the same hurt for 5 years and still be as broken as the day it happened. Or you can take 5 months of focused healing and come out stronger than you were before it ever happened. Time doesn't fix anything you're unwilling to face. Healing takes work. It takes honesty. It takes giving yourself permission to tell the truth about what happened without letting that truth become your identity. Helps us. Some people confuse healing with forgetting. They think if they're still aware of the pain, they must not be healed yet. But healing doesn't erase memory. It rewrites meaning. You may remember what happened, but it doesn't own you anymore. It doesn't speak louder than your purpose. It doesn't dictate your joy. It doesn't control how you show up in relationships or how you see yourself in the mirror. That's real healing. It's when the wound turns into wisdom, when the scar becomes a symbol of survival, not a reminder of shame. Healing also requires confronting what you've been avoiding. Most people bury their pain under achievement, business, distractions, or performance. They overwork, overthink, or overextend themselves trying to prove they're okay. But anything you bury alive still grows. Pain that's ignored doesn't die. It multiplies. It shows up in your tone, your relationships, your decisions. It colors the way you interpret reality. So healing means facing what you've been pretending doesn't bother you. It means sitting in the silence long enough to hear what your soul has been trying to say. It means allowing grief to visit without letting it move in. Real healing doesn't mean you stop crying. It means you cry with purpose. It means you allow the tears to cleanse you instead of weaken you. You don't suppress your emotions, you steward them. You honor what you've been through without building your home there. And you learn how to hold pain and purpose in the same hand. Healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel free, and some days the memory will knock on your door again. But healing doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. As it helps us, it's about choosing to get up one more time than life tried to knock you down. Part of healing is also learning how to set boundaries. You can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. You can't keep giving access to people who keep wounding you and expect to recover. Healing sometimes means loving people from a distance. It means saying no without guilt. It means protecting your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Your healing journey isn't just about recovery. It's about redefinition. You are redefining who you are, what you deserve, and what you'll tolerate. And when you do that, you give yourself permission to walk in a new level of wholeness. You also have to release the shame that comes with being hurt. Too many people internalize the pain as if it was their fault. They carry guilt for things they didn't cause, blame themselves for the brokenness of others, and wear the weight of situations they never created. But healing means separating what happened to you from who you are. You are not the betrayal. You are not the rejection, as it helps us. You are not the trauma, the wound. You are not the healer. You are the builder. You are the one who rose anyway. And sometimes the most powerful part of healing is realizing that your survival was never a fluke. It was proof that purpose is still alive inside of you. Healing unlocks vision. Pain blurs it. When you're still wounded, everything you look at is filtered through hurt. But when healing starts to take root, your perspective clears. You start to see possibilities again. You start to dream again. You start to trust yourself again, not because life suddenly got easier, but because you decided to stop waiting for permission to be whole. Healing isn't about forgetting what broke you. It's about remembering who were before the break and choosing to become someone even stronger.